Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Daryl Show Your Work. And in this episode, I'll be simulating a variety of different attacks against a, a, um, a mock public facing a web application. And some of these attacks that I'm going to be demonstrating include brute force attacks, and we're going to be using a particular tool to do that, and directory transversals, remote code execution, and then I'm going to end it off by exploiting some legacy versions of Samba and Open SSH. All right, so to get started, I'm going to start off with, and then as always, anytime I'm doing any sort of red teaming activity, I want to preface this by saying that this is for research and educational purposes only, and that any sort of malicious activity that comes from this, and from anyone watching this video, I do not claim personal responsibility for, and I do not condone. All right, with that said, we're going to start with is we're going to brute force some open ports, and we're going to specifically be using a tool known as brutedum. And what that is, it's a Python tool that combines service enumeration and brute forcing tools. So think in terms of if we were to combine Nmap and various brute forcing tools such as like a Hydra, all into one simple framework or tool, and not have to, and that tool then recommends to us what we should use as far as the open ports, the open protocols that is found on a target host. Well, that's what brutedum is. It scans those, it conducts an Nmap scan for us against a target host, and then it actually recommends a brute force tool in order for us to exploit those open protocols. All right, so I'm going to get started, and in order to do that, I have to change directories to where the tool is located, and on my machine, that is at a in a directory called exploiting a public facing app. All right, so just going to enter that in here. All right, I'm in, and so just to show you, to list out the contents and show you what we're going to be working with. So we're going to be working with all three of these files, but we're going to start with executing brutedum. All right, so in order for me to get that started, anytime when using a Python, I had to specify that I'm using Python in the version. So I'm going to be using version 3, and I'm going to say brutedum.py for Python. All right, and let's get that going. All right, so it wants my victim's address. So we're going to aim this at a host with the host name of localhost. All right. And it asks is, do I want a scan of the victim's port with Nmap? And yes, I do. So we're going to scan that, hit yes. All right, so it came back with the results here, and we can see that the SSH port is open, which is port 22. We have RDP, which is open, which is port 3389, and then VNC, which is port 5901, and then X11, which is port 6001. So, um, so we can see that it's giving me what the default ports are, but we can see that VNC is actually using an alternate port. So we're going to be aiming our recommended tool. Once it recommends one for us, we're going to be aiming it at this port, not at the default port, which is 5900, but we're going to be aiming at 5901. All right, so now it's asked me which protocol do I want to crack, and like I just said, we're gonna aim this at BNC. And to give a high level explanation of what VNC is. It's a remote desktop protocol that will allow me to control a remote computer by sending keyboard and mouse inputs from my machine to our target machine. All right, and again, like I said, the default port is 5900, but we're going to be aiming at 5901 since that is the alternate port that our target host is using. All right, so I'm going to choose VNC, which is 6. All right. And then now it gave me a list of recommended tools. So it gave me Ncrack, Hydra, and Medusa. I'm going to go with the recommended um, brute forcing tool, which is Hydra. And for those that may have not seen my previous video, may be unfamiliar, what Hydra is, it's pretty much just a tool that performs brute force attacks with large numbers of usernames and password combinations. And it utilizes a word list to do this, which we're going to see in a few minutes, a few seconds. Hitting enter, and now it's asking me for that word list. So we're going to be using a word list here, and it's going to be using those commonly used words to try to figure out what the username and the password is um, for this host, or for this particular protocol, excuse me, and give us try to get some login credentials from our brute force attack. So then the name of my list here is top 207 dash probable v2 and txt. All right, so I'm gonna hit enter. All right, do I want to use the default port? Remember, we're not doing that because VNC is running on an alternate port, so I'm gonna tell it no. And then I'm going to specify the port I want to aim this at, which is 5901. I'm gonna hit enter. All right, Hydra's starting to crack, and that was pretty fast. All right, so it came back with a password of 123456, which is a horrible password. All right, so we can see how brutedum works and how it combines different tools together, such as Nmap or Ncrack or in this case Hydra, to perform a brute force attack, and how it can be used to recommend which tool to use according to whatever protocol is found to be open and vulnerable. All right, so that's going to do it for brutedum. All right, so I'm gonna tell it no. So we're done using that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be exploiting PHP admin, which is excuse me, which is an open source web-based MySQL database management tool. So the the thing about what makes this vulnerable, this PHP my admin, is the version. So this one's using version 4.8.0, and the thing is 4.8.0 and 4.8.1 versions of the tool are vulnerable to file inclusion attacks in the index.php file, and this is caused by a validation bypass in the vulnerable path checking function. So this vulnerability allows remote adversaries to execute arbitrary PHP code on a machine when authenticated. And I'm going to show exactly how that works. So in order for me to get started, I'm going to be going here to our web application, which is being hosted online. All right, so to get there, I have to go to HTTP. All right, and then this is at 192 dot, let's see, 168.1.101, and then we're going to go to the PHP my admin page there in order to log in. All right. All right, and then also, yeah, in my explanation, I mentioned local file inclusion, and that's just simply it's used to trick the web application into exposing or running files on the web server. Again, it can lead to a remote code execution, cross-site scripting attacks, and information disclosure, which again I'm going to be demonstrating here in a few. So I'm gonna enter in my credentials. All right. Now that I'm in, I'm going to show what a direct, what a path transversal attack looks like. Okay, so I'm going to append some more things here. All right, so I'm going to add. Remember that index .php uh, file that I mentioned. All right, so I'm going to append this with index.php. Then I'm going to put question mark target equals db underscore SQL and then dot PHP. You want to give it a percentage 253 F. All right. Then dot. Okay. Oops. Ah, that's why I'm going slow because sometimes my keyboard gets a mind of its own when using this virtual machine. Okay. And then, all right, then we're gonna see. All right, I'm gonna explain what I'm doing here. Let me just make sure my syntax is correct here. Okay, looks good. Looks good. That looks good. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, so to explain to you what's going on here in the URL search bar here. So again, this appends a custom file path to the URL. In Linux-based operating systems, the backslash connotation that you see lists the context, the content of the parent directory. So adding a few of these special characters allows the attacker to list the contents of the root directory and then transverse to any file of choosing. So again, this is a form of path transversal, and the way you'll know path transversal is anytime you see these multiple backslash, that's an indicator of path transversal. All right, so let's see what happens when I hit enter. And it must have not liked my syntax there. Let's see. Let me double check this. Let's see. See, I have some of this stuff pasted here just in case I run into these types of issues. So let me look to see where I may have this pasted. All right, let's see. Okay, There you are. Okay. All right, so let's try to paste that there. Okay. All right, well, let's try this again then. Now I got this pasted in here again. There we are. Okay. So so this again, this is the content of our password of our exe passwd file, which is giving all the user information here on the screen. So again, if I'm trying to enumerate users on the system, this gives me what I need. So all I gotta do is copy this, put it in some type of text file or word processing file to clean it up. And now I get to see what users are on this machine. The only thing that I would have to do is to do what we did before this and run some type of password cracking mechanism like a Hydra. All right, so this is a way that that someone can use a path traversal to enumerate certain things on the back end server, such as usernames. And again, this is all a result of using an outdated version of PHP my admin. And again, this one is using I mean, excuse me, 4.8 dot zero, which is vulnerable to this sort of attack. So um, the next thing that I'm going to be moving on to is how we can use how we can execute our remote code execution with Git shell commands. All right, so to begin that, I'm going to go to this SQL tab. All right, so um in order to do this, I'm gonna be exploiting the MySQL logging capabilities to change the path for the written log. All right, and uh, the file it'll be created by manipulating two MySQL global variables. So the first one is a general log, and it's this is referring to the log saving status. There are two values to that, two booleans, which is either on or off, and on meaning open, off meaning closed. The second variable that I'm going to be exploiting here is the general log file itself, which is referring to the save path of the log, so where the log is being saved. All right. So to get started, I'm going to enter in a command here. All right, so I'm going to say show variables, then like, all caps, and then now lowercase. Then I'm gonna put single quotes, general percent. Oops, let me see, percent. That's okay. So, oh, then gotta give a space, and there you go. Okay. So what this is going to do, it's going to show us what the current state of everything is as far as whether or not the general logging mechanism is either open or closed, or and then where the log file is currently being saved. All right, so I'm going to click go here. All right, so it did return that to me. So it's showing me that right now the general log, it has a value of off, meaning it's closed. All right, and then it's showing me, okay, the log file, it's actually being logged in MySQL Ubuntu 19.log on the PHP my admin server. Now we don't have access to that server, but there will be some things that will be indicative to us as whether or not this attack that we're doing is successful. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to set this to on. All right, and then the I want to be able to change the path for the general log file. And let's say I want to change it to something instead of just a lib mysql ubuntu 19.log. Let's say I just wanted to change it to slash 1 dot php. All right. So basically, I'm changing where this written log is going to be placed. All right, and that again that could be problematic for the people on the other end of this because they won't be able to find where their log is located, but I will know where it is. All right, so and this in itself is mischievous, but someone could also use these commands to run like a one-line Trojan or something like that. But in this example, I'll just be screwing around with where the actual log is being saved. All right. So in order to get started, that first we got to turn again that to open up that general log. So in order to do that, I'm going to set global general underscore log, and I'm going to equal say on. Okay. Oops, hold on. No, messed up there. Sorry. All right. So this is going to set that this is going to set the the global log mechanism to it's going to open it up. All right. So I'm going to hit go for that to happen. Okay, hold on. I didn't like my syntax. Oh, got that. I think I forgot an A in general. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's try that again. Hit go. All right. So it looked like that took, and we're going to check that. We're going to check after I run these two statements to make sure that those actually worked. All right. And then the next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to say set global general underscore log underscore file. All right. Now we want to change. We want to change what that we want to change that log file. So we want to change it to. We're going to call it something different. So again, the administrators on the side of where this server is located, they know this file by one name, but I'm going to rename this file a completely different name. Again, this is just mischief, but I mean this can be used to do more dangerous things. But um, just show again, generally showing how this works. All right, so I should be good to go there. All right, and then I'm going to run that original command now that the one with the showing the variables that have anything that has general percentage in it, and that's going to show me those two variables and what the current status of those is. All right, so show variables like general. All right. And this should show me now the changes that we made. All right, and now we can see that that general log is now open. It's the value set to on, and now we can see that the general log file is now is being saved as 1.php instead of what it was being saved as before. All right, so that's an example of again, that was me running remote code, and basically the site allowed me, or this application allowed me to run that code remotely, and so I was able to kind of play around with um, the log file and where that log file is being located and and what it's being named. All right. So again, the administrators on, or whoever has access to that log on the server side will have a very hard time locating it because of what I did here. Okay, so then the next thing that I want to do is I want to get to exploiting some outdated versions of the Samba protocol. And so what Samba is Linux's version of SMB, which is a protocol used for network share. So think in terms of network printers, network attached storage, or even some type of sort of routers. All right. So, again, that runs on port 445. So, in order to get started with that, we're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to run a Nmap scan on a target. All right. So, do Nmap dash capital S. Well, no, you want to. I'm sorry. Lowercase s, capital C. Uh, then lowercase s, capital V. And then the name of our host that we're targeting is called Samba. That's the host name. All right, so I'm gonna hit enter. Let's give it a few seconds. All right, so scroll up a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, so we can see that port. Well, let me move up a little more, because then there's something else that we need to take note of that's not captured here. Okay, here we go. All right, so first thing we need to take note of is the IP address here behind that Samba host name. We're going to have to remember this, because we're going to need this in order to further exploit this target. All right, so we can see that port 22 is open, which is SSH, and it gives us the version. And we when we did that dash s lowercase s uppercase v, it was a service version scan. So that's why how we're able to see the different versions of the protocols that is running. And then we see that we have the HTTP protocol open, which is port 80, and it's using an Apache, and it gives the version of that Apache server. And then most importantly, we see that that port 445 is open, which is Samba. All right, and it tells us the Samba version 4.3 point 8 Ubuntu. But let's say we wanted to first verify that, and then we wanted to run an exploit against that. All right, so first, let's first verify that that is indeed the version that it's running. And in order to do that, we're going to use the Metasploit framework. So I'm going to put in MSF console. So in this on this virtual machine, I don't have to connect to the PostgreSQL server as usual, but usually we would have to do that before launching the MSF console. But In this case, I don't. It's going to just take us straight into the Metasploit framework. All right, it looks like we're in. So I'm going to search for first of all, we want to verify that version of Samba. All right. So I'm going to search SMB. It's all the same. It's just SMB is specific to Windows. Samba's specific to um to Linux, but the tool that we're using, it targets both. So I'm gonna say SMB underscore version to find a tool. All right, so it looks like we have found a tool, found actually one tool for SMB version detection. So we can have two choices. I can write use, and I can either write this whole thing out, or I could do a shortcut and just simply write the number assigned, the ID assigned to the tool. So I'm going to take the shortcut, and I'm going to just say use 0. All right. So anytime when we use a Metasploit, when choosing a particular module, you don't have to write the whole thing out. You can just write simply use and then the ID associated with that module. So I'm gonna hit enter. All right, so it's chosen that auxiliary scan for us. And again, what this auxiliary scan is going to do is just verify what version of SMB our target is using. So remember when I said we needed to memorize that that IP address behind the host name? This is why. So I'm going to show options. Okay, so this tells me what I need. These are the different variables that I need to set upon before running this. And one of the variables that I need to set is, well, the only one I need to set here is where is this aiming at? The remote host. That's what our host stands for. So I'm going to tell it to set our host, and that IP address is 192.168.1. Dot 101. That's where that Samba. Where that Samba host ID. That's what it's associated with. All right. So I'm gonna set it to that. All right. It looks like we're ready to go. So I'm gonna just type in exploit. Give it a few seconds. All right. So we can see here that it confirmed what Nmap told us, and that we are indeed what that our target is indeed running Samba 4.3.8 dash Ubuntu. All right, so now that we know that, now we can find an actual exploit to run against this particular version of Samba. All right, so I'm going to see. We're going to use all right, exploit backslash Linux. Specify the operating system Samba, and then is underscore known underscore pipe name. All right, so what this is going to do is going to trigger an arbitrary shared library a load vulnerability to this particular version of Samba. All right, so this particular version of Samba is vulnerable to this tool. All right, so I'm gonna hit enter to select it. All right. And so again, well, with this, again, another thing with this particular version, this 4.3.8, that it allows anonymous access combined with common file system locations. Um, um, and this can be used to exploit the vulnerability automatically. All right, so that's another reason why we're choosing this and using this particular module against this version. All right, so I need to set. I'm gonna go to show options, and I'm gonna need to set. Let me go scroll up just a tad bit here. All right, and we can see that again, this is empty. So because we specified that that the default port is already going to be set here, which is the port 443. Excuse me, 445. All right, and we're going to so then we need to set the R host to again that that IP address that we discovered when running the Nmap scan, the Nmap service scan. All right, so I'm going to go back down here. All right, so I'm going to say set our host, and then I'm going to give it the IP address again. All right, I'm going to hit enter. All right, and so there's two other variables that I'm going to have to set here. So I'm going to set SMB colon. All right, then I'm going to say always crypt. And I'm going to set that to false. So I'm going to turn that off. All right, then I'm going to just go back a little bit here. Then say protocol version. I'm going to set that to 1. Okay. All right, so that's everything. So let's exploit it. All right, so it's a found shell. All right, so let's see now that it found the shell. All right, it says the command shell session open. So let's see. I'm gonna type in ID. And there you go. So now I have a root session going down on our target machine due to this vulnerability that I found with this out of date Samba version. All right, so that's a way that we could use the Metasploit framework to exploit out of date protocols. In this instance, we exploited the out of date Samba protocol, and we first found out what the version was using Nmap. We verified that using our auxiliary scanner here within the Metasploit framework. And then once we verified that it is indeed running the version, the vulnerable version, we then ran this exploit tool that allowed anonymous login, and where we began our root session with target. All right. So the last thing is I want to conduct some enumeration of a target machine with using, exploiting an out of date open SSH version. All right. So to get started there, we need to exit out of Metasploit because we're done using that. So I'm going to do Control C. All right. Then I'm going to tell it yes, I want to abort my session. All right, then I'm gonna say exit to completely leave the Metasploit framework here. All right, so now we're going to run another a service version scan, but we're going to run it against a different target here. So we're just going to be moving one IP address down to 101's neighbor to 102. So I'm going to say under, lowercase s, uppercase v for service version. And then we're going to tell it we're targeting port 22, which is SSH. All right. And then I'm gonna say 192.168.1.102. All right, so that's our target. And so before I start, just wanted to give a high level explanation of open SSH and what it is that we're targeting. So what open SSH is it's a suite of secure networking utilities used on a secure shell protocol, which provides a secure channel over a network and a client server architecture. So versions 7.7 and below are vulnerable to an exploit that allows any remote user to craft a request to determine a valid usernames on a target system and then send that request via open SSH to the victim's machine using Kali Linux, which we are using. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing here. And first, we're doing this Nmap scan to find out to verify what version of open SSH that is using, if it's using any version that's 7.7 or below. All right, so I'm gonna hit enter. All right, so it's came back and it has told us that port SSH, port 22 for SSH is indeed open, and that we can see that it's using version 6.7 P1, which is below 7.7. So we know that this is indeed vulnerable to the attack, which is going to allow us to determine any sort of valid usernames here. All right, so in order for us to be able to do that, first we're going to need to create a name list. Remember that word list that I used in the beginning of the video with Hydra? Well, now we're going to create our own. It's going to be a relatively short list using the text editor here. And we're just going to call this file usernames.txt. All right, so we're in the text editor here. So I'm going to just add some names in here. I'm going to say admin, uppercase, admin, lowercase, root tor, which is root backwards. And see Alex, um, Albert, see Brianna, I see Brian. Then let's see, let's do administrator, the whole word. Because sometimes you never know. Sometimes it may be the whole word here, administrator. Let's say system. And see another common one. Let's say capital PC dash capital admin. All right. So that's another famous one. All right. So I'm going to do a control X and then save it. Yes. All right. And hit enter. All right. So we're going to be working with a Python script in order to do this. All right. So the Python script, remember that those three, hold on, let me see. Let me do a list function. I think we're still in that directory. Do a li Yep. So we're gonna be working with this SSH enumeration .py Python script here in order to do this. But the first thing we need to do, we need to assign and execute permissions. So in order to do that, we're gonna do change modify chmod. All right, and then we're gonna say plus X to add the execution permissions to it. And then we need to specify the file we want to do that with, which is ssh enum All right, so this is what's going to like give us the permissions to execute the file and the code within it. All right, and then now it's time to execute the file. So first, again, we're running Python. We got to tell it Python 3. All right, then first we want to specify the file that we want to execute, which is ssh uh, enum.py. All right, but this and then first then we gotta tell it, okay, where to aim it at, which is 192.168.1.102. All right, now we have to specify the word list that we want to use. So I'm gonna put -w and then usernames.txt. So this is the file that I just created with all those different usernames in it that is going to guess against, and then by putting this greater than sign, I'm telling it to, I want it to put the output into a new file called valid.txt. All right, so check my syntax here. So we're telling Python to execute the ssh enum Python script, which is going to be aiming at 192.168.1.102, and it's going to be using the usernames txt file to try to guess the password. It's going to use those names that I entered in, as far as a way to see if, hey, if any usernames on this on that open SSH server, if there's any those usernames there, and then if it finds anything, whether it finds anything or not, it's going to give us the result in a new file called valid.txt. All right, so let's run this. All right, let's see. And then let me see, then something I did here. So let's see. See Python 3. Let's see. What did I fat finger here? 192.109-W. That looks right. Oh, let me see. What's the name of that file? No, who's your user names.txt? That's the right file. TXT. So what didn't it like? Check it. Okay, let's try that again. Let me see. Okay. Huh. Okay, when I ran again, it seemed to work. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there the first time. All right, so let's list that. Let's do a list command just to make sure that valid txt, another indicator that this works, if the valid .txt file is indeed in our local directory here. And it is, so we can see it here, right here. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened the first time there. All right, so we're gonna do cat valid.txt, and that's going to display the contents of that file and tell us uh, what it found. All right, so we found that admin is a valid username, root is a valid username, and it looks like everything else is invalid. So we found out that we found out the username for the admin account, and we found that the username for the root account, which, I mean, root's not surprising, since if it's a Linux based system, then it's going to have a root account. But this admin account is the most interesting thing on here. And again, it specifies that at the bottom what the valid users are. So again, this is a way that because this was using our target was using an out of date open SSH version, we were able to then having that knowledge that what versions are susceptible to what type of attacks, we were able to launch an attack which we were able to guess the usernames, or use a Python script to guess the usernames um, um, on that server using a word name that I created with common users, and the most important thing is different variations of admin and which ways that common naming mechanisms for it, and we were able to find um, an admin account with one of those names. So that brings me to the end of my video. But with this overall, it was meant to stress the critical importance of patch management, secure configurations, and strong credential hygiene in defending against real world attacks. So that's the main thing that I wanted to stress in this video. So please like, subscribe, and share. Most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.